Good morning. We'll be starting here in just a few minutes. We're just getting a couple people getting into the waiting room. So we'll be getting started here any second.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Yes.
We'll be getting rolling here in about a minute or two. Keep an eye on the chat, guys, because there's going to be a lot of great information coming through on the chat as we go through this. We are really pumped about this. So I want to give another. What do you think, Dion? Give about another minute or two.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple minutes should be good. We can go ahead and get started.
We'll get 2 minutes, and then we're going to get started because we value your time.
This is it.
All right, good morning, guys. Welcome. This is we are really excited about this. I'm just admitting a couple more in here. It's great to see you guys on an amazing Friday. It's a little gloomy outside, but it's not gloomy in this room, right, Dion?
Correct.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, this is and Dion, you may have to just interrupt me because I'm just so excited about this. Okay, so as we go along here, we're a team here. Okay, but I'm going to tell you, Dion, you and I have been, and Sherry, we've been, gosh, this has been a year in the making.
It has. It really has.
It's collaboration, and I'm so excited about it. And when you reached out and said, we gotta do something. That's all you said. We gotta do something.
That's it. I didn't know what something was. Yeah. I just knew it was something. Okay.
Yeah. And here we are. And I'm really excited about this, and excited for everybody here because there's just a ton of value that you guys are gonna get today, and it's this is the season to really grow and develop, and I think, and that's really why Dion and we talked about this. The new transition was just rang the bell because this is a new season, and it's very exciting. Don't you think, Dion?
It definitely is. Timing is everything, Lou. As you said. We've been doing this. This event has been in the making for a year. Sherry and I have had conversations. You and I have had conversations. We have had collective conversations, and now the season is upon us where we had to come together and collaborate. And as I said, hey, we got to do something. I didn't know what something was, but I knew that it was necessary. Yeah. I knew that it was necessary, and timing is everything. Were we supposed to do it last year? No. Things needed to happen to get us to this point for us to do what we needed to do, to offer what we need to offer, and bring what we need to bring to the people, to impact the people that show up. And as I said to you, if one person comes, we're coming for the one. Whoever
that was our agreement. It's like, heck, I know us. We'd have sat here and done this together on our own.
Yeah, we could have talked to ourselves if needed be, but we had to do something. Let's do something. Look.
We got to do something. Yeah. One trait that we have as teachers and as coaches and as speakers is that it doesn't take much to speak, right? It's somebody just says, "Hey, would you like to?" Let me talk, right?
Yeah, right.
It's a great avenue. Yeah. So really excited for y'all to be here. This is and obviously if you haven't met Sherry, so I want to do quick intros real quick, and for those of you that may not know us, may not know Dion. And I want to give Dion the respect also to elaborate on my intro for her because I will tell you right now that I'm probably not going to give the best intro because the best intro is our own, ain't it?
Make it your own.
And you're just awesome. So
thank you.
Well, so Sherry and I'm Lou Everett with the Lou Everett Group, and my wife Sherry and I are known for, our highly effective method of coaching, speaking, and training about personal development, personal growth, and how influence as a leader is important. We have our own empowerment method that we use for this purpose. And we have over 50 years combined experience in the development of people, of teams, of businesses. And man, we've received training and certifications from so many different people over the years. People like Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar, I went through a training program as a teen. Thank God for my mother. Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield, Paul Martinelli, and of course, we're certified John Maxwell coaches, speakers, and trainers. And we're just so excited to be able to pour something into you guys today. Dion, goodness. And it's funny because, when I look at when I met you, before I met you, right? Because Sherry is just such a rock for this company, and she's building these relationships. She goes, you've
right.
got to look up, you've got to see Dion. So I looked up Dion, and I was like, man, she is one powerful woman. And it's amazing because and then I realized that she has this Roar University, and I'm like, now that I know you, that is exactly you. And and so Dion is an empowerment speaker. She's an author. She's a coach. She's a businesswoman with a roar, right? And I'm a firm, but you have made me believe that. She's helped individuals and organizations, 20 plus years, with just on the corporate experience side, not including as a business owner. And she's been in corporate experiences. She's got a decade of those years in the executive suite. She's led teams all over the country. Was it that you helped the sales teams make $900 million?
$900 million in revenue over the course of that time. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Right.
Man, you are definitely got a roar. Man. Whew. So, is there anything you want to add to your intro?
No, that's great. I think you nailed it. My passion is to do what it is that we're doing right here today. As you say, from the empowerment speaker standpoint, bringing that roar, and what roar simply means is to be relentless, optimistic, ambitious, and results driven. I have a copy of my book here with the lion on it. So all this lion you see will make sense at some point. So the title of my book is simply that, Finding Your Roar. And that's simply what I want to impact upon others, is to roar, to be relentless, optimistic, ambitious, and results driven. Whether that's in your personal life, whether that's in business, I feel like we should not be stagnant. We should always be learning. We should always be growing. There is a road to success, if you will. We're going to talk about 6 steps today, and I won't go any further before we start tapping into content, but I'm excited to be here. I thank you, Lou and Sherry, for the collaboration. You did me justice. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for the idea. You came to us, and we've been thinking about it, and this is great. This is great. Thank you for that, Dion, and I'm honored really to partner with you. We're very proud of this. And so for everybody, what's going to happen here, how this is going to work is we've got a small teaching that we threw in as a bonus, by the way, which is going to blow your mind. You're going to love this. It's very simple, but very effective, and you're going to love this. You can use this to take advantage of yourself as a leader. Sherry is going to be manning the chat here in a little bit, so throw questions in the chat along the way, because then that's what we're going to use to start listening. We want you guys to ask questions. And I know for me, I won't speak for Dion, but if I just don't know the answer, I will know where to guide you to get that answer. That's how we work. Okay.
That's it. If you don't know, we'll find out.
That's it. But this is the reason we're all here: collaboration of leaders, and to really talk about the things that might be challenging you today. And there's no off topic at this moment, in my opinion. Unless Dion has one, I don't think she does. This is a topic for all leaders at this moment and the challenges that we currently face. Dion and I and Sherry live for these moments. We've been trained for years for moments of challenge and of transition. And just like a ball player who's been prepped and finally gets in the NFL, he's like, I can't wait to play. And it takes them that long, or you name it. You prep, and the moment finally comes, and this is our defining moment as leaders. This is why it's so important. So Sherry's going to man the chat, throw ideas, throw suggestions, throw questions in the chat because she's really good at it. And then as we go through this, there'll be a small teaching that we're going to go back and forth on, but throw questions in the chat because Sherry will say, hey, there's a question. She's sitting right in the same room. She'll say, hey, there's a question. You'll hear it. We'll be able to talk about this. This is what this is about. It's a collaboration. Okay. All right, cool. Now, what I want to start off with first, I really believe, and Dion, I didn't warn you about this ahead of time. I don't think this is a problem, but I think as leaders, we need to stand up and have a voice over certain situations.
Absolutely.
So before I get into this teaching, because it all leads to one, I'm going to give you my voice for a minute. In our society, human life and dignity is under direct attack. And it's under direct attack from limiting ideologies and beliefs of racism, oppression, and injustice. And human life is sacred. And the dignity of the human person is the foundation of a moral vision for our society. So if you consider yourself a leader, and everybody in this room should, and those that aren't in this room should, because if you have a family, you're a leader. You're a leader for yourself first, and then you lead other people. You must understand that when you lead people, it's not political. It's influential. It's influence, how we influence other people. So it's essential that leaders, those with influence, because that's what I believe leaders are, we use influence, make it a priority to be present and spearhead these conversations, and then just listen. Because see, just your presence changes the system. As leaders, our presence changes the system. We got to be at the table. Agreed. So I just had to voice that today. So that really brings us right in, though, to and Dion mentioned this, the 6 things that a leader needs to do or must do every day. This is not a choice. Okay, these aren't choices. So I'm going to share my screen for a minute. And I'm going to, well, before I do that, I should probably bring up that presentation here, which I have. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen for a minute. Okay, and so we're gonna go over the 6 things that a leader should do every day, and we're gonna go back and forth there. And feel free, throw your questions, throw your comments in the chat, because this is really what it's all about, guys. You have decided to be in the room, and I can't be more proud of it. So 6 things a leader should do every day. And you know, it's funny. Yesterday I was talking to. We had a podcast we were on, and we were being interviewed on a podcast, Sherry and I. And it just came up all by accident because he had asked what we think that leaders should do, and you know what they should do to become a stronger leader. And right away, this came up. and so we went through this, and he says, "Wow, because I read so many things of here's 20 things you can do as a leader. Which is great. They're all good. But I'm going to propose to you that these 6 things encompass everything that you've learned on how to be an effective leader. All right." I threw in John Quincy Adams here because I love this quote. It just came across my desk today, and I was like, man, this is perfect time. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you're a leader. I love the fact that he ended up with become more. Wouldn't you agree, Dion, that becoming is more than getting as a leader?
Absolutely, which is part of what I was saying before. We talked for a year, but we had to become some different people over the course of the year in order for us to be in this space today. It was not meant for us to collaborate last year when we first met. We were supposed to do it now. So some things have happened over the course of the time. We had to do more. We had to learn more in order to become who we are. And even from a leader influential standpoint, we're still learning and becoming. So when we, whatever we do after this, if it's next year, 2 years, we'll be different people at that time for a different group of people in a different season. So I agree wholeheartedly.
That is so, with you know, like you said, I love the fact that you said, you know, we're going to be different people. You know, we have the year, 2 years. It's what are we going to do with that? Are we going to
Right.
be the same as we were today, right? And we shouldn't as leaders. You know, it's very, very powerful because we have to become something, become more empowered, and empower other people. Good point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very good point. Yeah, I love it. So let's talk about this for a second. 6 things a leader should do every day. And we all have our different ideas. So I want just bear with me as we go through this, because you know we're going to talk a lot about, and these all capitalize on another. And what you're going to find is you're going to find something in these 6 things. I will promise you, because even when I was creating this, I found it. I was like, wow, I've got to do this more. I've got to do this more. So be open. Right? Be open to be challenged as a leader. Challenge your limiting beliefs. Challenge your limitations at this moment, because as a leader, we need to be futurist thinkers. And futurist thinkers means that we don't really settle for status quo. Yeah, so here we go. The first one, number 1, maybe. Let's go back over here. There we go. Number 1. Learn every day. You know, learning every day, and it's very basic, right? One of the questions I've been asked: well, learn every day. Okay, what does that have to? Just learning doesn't do anything. Well, we're going to get to that. But see, as you go about your day as a leader, you have to look for ways, search for ways to learn, whether from observation, reading, or training. Right? We got to learn every day as a leader, and we're talking. I mean, for me, Dion, I want to hear your viewpoint on this too, and what you think ways we can learn as leaders. But heck, I mean, there's so much available now. It's not
Yes.
like it was when I was a kid, where you had, even before I was a kid, you had it was just books, and then you got books and tapes, and now it's just there's a plethora of good information to learn to be a solid leader. Wouldn't you say?
I agree 100%. One of my daily rituals is I have a book called Shift Your Thinking. I read a passage of it daily. I listen to a podcast every day. As leaders, growing and excelling to become, we can get so consumed in our action item list, what it is that we're supposed to do in the course of the day, and pose the question, how is it possible that I have time to learn something else? You have to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
But from a leadership standpoint, it is necessary for us to continue to learn. I call myself SpongeBob. So when I'm not a lion, I'm a sponge, because I'm absorbing everything anytime that I encounter a space. Even if I am on the stage and I'm in a room full of other people, I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. I am there to learn, and I am there to pour into the lives of others all at the same time, right? But that's my ritual. That's my personal ritual daily. I listen to a podcast. If I'm not doing some type of webinar or something, or if I'm not actually reading a passage out of a book, I have a few friends that are authors. And when I go on vacation, I take their books with me. So we want to constantly make sure that we're absorbing and not just pouring out, but in order for us to be the leaders that we're supposed to be, we have to bring something in so that we can share it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you're right. It's because you can't grow if you have to grow yourself before you do what? Grow other people.
Exactly.
You know, and that's a big difference, and that's really what influence is about, right? I mean, you can't influence other people if you aren't growing and changing yourself as a leader.
Exactly. The information gets old. The information gets stale. As we said, the new transition. So it's something new on the horizon, and to lead with clarity, we have to be crystal clear about what it is that we're bringing in and what we're giving to other people. I can't give you information that I learned 10 years ago. Part of it applies, but things are changing. So what worked 10 years ago may not work today. So I have to give you fresh information. In order for it to be fresh, I have to constantly be learning, right? And growing. So there are times where people really don't have the time, and they come to workshops and webinars and conferences to find out how they evolve, how do they find their road to success. That's our jobs, that's our responsibility as leaders, to make sure we're giving people the nuggets, if you will, to push them to their next level.
Yeah. You know, and you make a very, very valid point, because you can learn this, you can learn stuff. You know, anyone can sit there and read, but you said something there. People, even though they don't have the time, they take the time.
Yeah.
And see, and that is that's a difference between just learning something and really learning something intentionally,
Absolutely.
where you're putting it into practice for the benefit of yourself and other people. Because you have to take care of yourself before you can lead other people.
That's it.
When
you're on the plane, you have to put your mask on first. So you know what I'm saying? You have to get your oxygen first before you can help someone else. So in order for me to go and speak, for you to go and speak, it's a constant portal of education. And I just feel like none of us have an excuse as to why we can't. We can be walking, running, on the treadmill, squats, lunges, whatever your repertoire of exercise is, and be learning at the same time. We can be at our computers listening to a podcast or, you know, webinar. There's no excuse. Audible. We can listen to a book if we don't have time to physically sit down and read a book. There's so many ways.
Yeah. And those people that you know, and by learning, we're talking about leading with clarity, right? And so one of the things that I believe we need to do as leaders and as people is to clear back the noise, is to take two types of inventory, right? We need to take an inventory of who we are.
Yes.
First of all, and I mean, really get down to the nitty gritty, dirty stuff, like how, you know, what are things I've got to do to make a change?
Right.
And then the second one is we've got to take an inventory of who we've given authority to speak into our life.
That's good.
You know, so because we give authority to those people speaking to our life, are we really growing? You know, we're giving them authority, and all of a sudden, if you really sit back and think about it, a lot of that voice that's coming in that we've given that authority to does not match up to our empowered future.
Agreed.
You know, and so we've got to take those two inventories. And then you'll know what you need to do to get where you intend to be. And that is the learning process. That's how I feel. What do you think?
I agree 100%. We have to, it's an action item. It's on my things to do. So in order for me, as you already said, to do or to give to someone else, these are the things that I have to do for me in order for me to be successful, in order for me to grow, right? So it's what I do daily. It's part of my ritual that I listen to something, even in the midst of the 12 things that's on my list. There's no excuse as to why I can't get it done. No more than having breakfast or lunch or dinner on my action item list. It's a part of who I am. It is what I do. So none of us have excuses. We just have to make the time for it. And if we can do it for a good 21, 30 days, then it becomes part of who we are. It is our ritual. The same way that we pray and we meditate. These are things that keep us balanced and keep us focused. I need to learn something the same way that I need to eat breakfast in the morning or have my caramel macchiato, if you will. That's my
Yep, yeah, I get you. It's like me and my coffee. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like it's part of your DNA, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, part of your DNA. You know?
Don't talk to me unless I had a caramel macchiato. look, and I have a small glass right here. Okay.
There you go. Well, I'm glad you did before you came in. That's awesome stuff. This is the golden nuggets we're talking about, guys. I mean, so learn every day. Okay, yes. Learn every day. Number two, the second thing we need to learn, need to do every day as a leader, we need to experience every day. Experience every day. And what I mean by experience is as you learn, we talked about this a minute ago, but even more so, put it into practice.
Yes.
And then you experience the outcomes and the influence that it has on other people. Now, I'll venture to say in there that we should add in and experience the positive outcomes and positive influence it has on other people. Because if it's not positive and it doesn't positively influence other people, then you're not doing the L or the E in this situation, wouldn't you say?
Correct. That's not the influence we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we can turn influence into negative, right? I mean, I remember it was a kid, a teenager, and my parents, and there was this guy that my age, a little older than me. It was part of the church that we were going to and attending, and he was kind of the rebel, right? And so, but I liked the guy. He was just a real genuine guy. But my parents looked at me and said, he's bad. He's bad habits. He's bad association. You don't want to hang out with him. He's a bad influence, right? He kept warning me about that. Well, I as a teenager, we want to do our own thing. So I hung out with Mike, and one day we're hanging out and we're hanging out in his room, and we're playing some music. I think it was, I don't know, some heavy rock, heavy metal music, probably Motley Crue or something, which I like the kind of music, but it was, I'm feeling like, oh, I'm good there, and there's nothing wrong with the music. It's not where I'm going with this. But all of a sudden, he's like, it reaches into a cabinet, like underneath his bed or something. He pulls out this big bottle of whiskey, and just starts chugging it.
Wow. And
I'm thinking, wow. And now I can hear the dialogue in my head, right? Of my parents, and then here I am.
Right.
Okay. So the influence. Now Mike and I we're still really good friends now, and obviously that was when we were kids. But just a point that the influence can be very different, and as leaders, our influence needs to be positively effective.
That's true.
And in a way that's going to actually benefit in a positive way to the members of our team, and as leaders outside of that, we got to look outside the box and go to our not just our teams, but our company, then our community, and then our city, and then our state. I mean, as leaders, even though that we're leaders, people say in a small way, doesn't mean anything. We got to be larger. I think someone has a question, Sherry. Joe might raise his hand. Joe, did you have a question or a comment?
No, you know what? I was having some trouble with my computer. I'm on my phone.
Okay.
And the thing is it's a lot smaller than my fingers. Sorry.
That's
Sorry
okay. I just want to
that.
make sure. No, man. Thanks for being here, Joe. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem at all. I get you.
Is there anybody else?
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Let me just double check and make sure there isn't anybody else coming in. And it looks like nope, everyone's in. Yeah.
The link wasn't good.
Send them the new one. Send them the one that you have, and it'll go. I'm not sure why the link isn't working, but it'll work for them. Just send them the full link. It'll be good. So yeah, so experience every day. I mean, in how we influence other people in a positive way. I mean, Sherry and I, we teach on. There's one topic we teach on becoming a person of influence, and we use this analogy of a leadership compass. And at some point, as a matter of fact, you can probably see it on our website. We have a clip of explaining it, but absolutely a good way to understand that. Dion, did you have any more that you wanted to add into the experience every day?
What I want to say about the experience and coming from the learning perspective, as you already said, 20 plus years in the corporate space, I learned a lot. We talked about degrees, certifications, etc. These are things that no one can take from us, right? And in the words of Dr. Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. When you learn, teach, and when you give, which is why we are here today. But the experience that after that, the results of being SpongeBob, if you will, is the experience that I get, the impact to know that the lives of people are changing because of the work that is being done. Nothing, hear me, absolutely nothing gives me more pleasure than that experience, to feel that I can actually make a contribution to the universe, and to actually see other people getting from a place of being stagnant and to actually grow and doing what it is that they have been called to do from a leadership standpoint. That is success. And what I will share with you, what I thought many moons ago was success, and what I know it to be now, my goodness, two totally different things. Okay. I have been freed from the bondage of what I thought success looked like. I thought success like a big house, a nice car, the pool, the this, that, and the other. And those things suck the life out of me. Okay. I can live in one of those tiny houses now that they have on HGTV, and to hit stage and to know that I'm making an impact in the world, please. I'm so happy. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that? But your experiences led you to learn that, and you were open to learning. You're like, man, that's not what it's about. And that's
not.
You
The,
know?
the experience is totally different now.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of times as leaders, we get caught up when we say leadership. Leadership comes with a lot of pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we can honestly say, and if I'm making sense to you, type roar in the chat box. Okay. Like seriously,
Uh-huh.
because one of the chapters in my book is the loneliness of leadership.
Mhm.
Leadership is a lonely walk, right? But the experience and the mindset that goes along with leadership can be different if you look at it with a different lens. What I thought, I looked at the pressure and the responsibility that goes along with leadership, right?
Mhm.
The fact that we're learning daily, the experience that goes along with it, I don't take myself so serious now because I know, yeah, there are going to be some days that are going to be super crazy, right? There are going to be some great days, but they balance out. But whatever happened in the course of any day was supposed to happen. I was supposed to learn from it, be it good or bad, depending on how we feel, right?
That's right.
Be it good or bad, but it was an experience. And did I get the nugget out of it? Did I learn what I was supposed to learn so that I can teach someone else in the future? And so it doesn't happen again if it was something negative. So I take each day as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good points. Thank you for that, Dion. I think it's very, very important that it's okay to admit, man, being a leader is hard.
Tough. It's tough.
It's difficult, and in many, many ways, right? And the challenges of just making sure. And I don't know about you, but one of my biggest, that I'm always weighed on, I always self-examine myself on is, am I setting the right example to be the influence I want to give?
Right.
Because everything I've learned over my 3 decades of working with studying, and then 20 years, 2 decades of being in the industry of leadership,
Application, yes.
that I've learned that, man, it's difficult because if I'm not setting the right parameters based on my example, I'm not going to experience positive outcomes from my teams and people around me. And so, and that's a big responsibility, but a very, very rewarding one if we utilize it in a way that's going to be validated based upon the positive influence we have on other people.
Absolutely.
That's not positional. That's reality. It's influential. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So let's go on to the third thing that a leader should do every day. We need to apply every day. Now, as I told you, this is overlapping, and Dion, you're so good, and we're on the same page here so well that we've blended this already so nicely. But applying it every day, so you take what you've learned as we've been talking about, an experience, but then apply what worked. Right? Notice I said apply what worked and made a difference in other people. So apply it every day. So here's a question: like, how do you know it's going to work unless you try it first?
Right. That's good.
You're not gonna, right? You learn something. It's like, okay, whether you're you use someone like myself or Dion or Sherry, and as a coach, and as a coach, you've worked with us, you've learned. It's like, wow. And your coach, if they're hold you accountable, and I know Dion, you hold your clients accountable. And I do too. I mean, heck, and that's one of the things that they'll tell you about us and you, Dion. If they hold you accountable, they're going to say, okay, today's the day you said you were going to apply what you've learned. How'd it go? Right. You see, and that's how you develop as a leader. You need to break beyond the boundaries. As a matter of fact, let me read something to you. This is off the cuff. Today, there's a couple of blogs I belong to, and it has some with quotes, and there was one from Bill Taylor. He wrote an article called "Do You Pass the Leadership Test?" And he said, the true mark of a leader is the willingness to stick with a bold course of action, an unconventional business strategy, or a unique product development roadmap, a controversial marketing campaign, whatever it might be, even as the rest of the world wonders why you're not marching in step with the status quo. In other words, real leaders are happy to zig while others zag. They understand that in an area of hyper competition and nonstop disruption, the only way to stand out from the crowd is to stand for something special.
Yes.
Isn't that powerful?
It is powerful and absolutely valid. For
Man,
real.
I read that, I was like, perfect timing. I'm telling you, it's so amazing. If we apply, just because you don't know the outcome, right? Because we're victims of our past, perhaps, but you can't be victims of your future because it hasn't happened unless you just don't do anything.
Right.
And as a leader, we can't think that way. We always have to be future thinking. We've always got to say, well, this hasn't worked, but I've got to make this work because I've got to learn and I've got to apply it to benefit and influence other people.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Lou.
Such a powerful thing.
What I will add to that, and we're talking about leadership. A lot of those that are on are business owners owning and operating their own businesses. And from a leadership standpoint, as I've already stated, it's a lonely walk. Now, what Lou just described, that is who you are from a leader. But what happens as a leader and your team members or your employees don't have that same mindset that you have? Because as the leader, you're going to take risks, right? You're forward thinking. You're gonna zig. So you're not gonna do what other businesses do the same way that it has been done before. So sometimes they're gonna give you, oh, well, that's not gonna work. Well, how do you know it's not gonna work if you haven't tried it, right? So from a leadership standpoint, a lot of people that we talk to are leaders, but what happens is you have team members that are not leaders, they're individual contributors. So sometimes there's a struggle between the leader and the individual contributor because the mindset is not the same. So in a case like that, you need to make sure that your employees are getting the coaching. Your employees or your teams are getting this training as well so that you guys can be on one accord. I've been in a place before where I was that forward thinker. I'm, futuristic, and I'm out here and I'm doing stuff different, way different than everybody else. These
disruptor.
I disrupt everything. Can you imagine that? Like, why would I do that? Like, this lion does not sleep, okay? So I come up with ideas in my sleep, okay? So when I bring that to a team that is stagnant and sometimes can be lackadaisical, you don't have to type roar in the chat box because I'm a leader, so I know what you're dealing with, okay? Everybody is not on the same page, okay? But when that happens, you have to say one or two things. From a leader perspective, am I learning? Am I applying what I am learning, right? And am I pouring this into my team daily so that they can move the needle? Now, sometimes, for those of us that have children, you can say something to your kids that can be so powerful, so impactful, and they get nothing from you, okay? My son, I have said things to my son, okay, who is now 17. He has gone to my neighbor's house and my neighbor has said the same, let me get close to the screen, the same exact thing that I said to him. He came back and told me what she said and I looked at him as if he had 4 eyes, like, dude, I told you this already, okay? But my point in saying that is sometimes they have to get it from someone else. So from a leadership standpoint, your job is to be futuristic, forward thinking, right? And to run the company. And sometimes you have to send your team members to some coaching or some training so that they can get what they need to help push the business forward. Because until then, it's going to be apples and oranges. But once you guys can get on the same page, and once you're on the same page, the business goes to a whole nother level. The mindset of the entire team goes to a whole nother level, and the revenue goes to an entire different level because everyone is on the same page.
Whole transformation.
Oh, the entire team transforms.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely right. And it's not like as leaders they don't, that the leaders of the team don't know what they're doing. It's like you said, hearing it from another perspective, even though you're saying the same thing.
Absolutely. And that leads us into our next point. It's a great segue right into our next point.
It is 100%. It is. Yeah. And so that comes right into our next.
Yeah.
Okay. if you're seeing a pattern here, we're spelling out a word, right? So develop yourself and others every day. Others, through your application, from what you have learned, right? From everything we've just learned and talked about, experienced, and continually find ways to develop yourself, but also develop, as you said, Dion, develop those that you lead.
Yes.
Find ways to do that. I'll never forget. I was working before I left the corporate executive level, and I was helping with transitioning in a new person into my role. And as she came in, and I helped the process of getting her in, and I knew her, I recommended her. She was really good. And one of the things that I sat down with her on, and I sat down with her, and I provided her coaching based on what I already knew about her. I provided her directive of what real leader is. I gave her a book that's going to give her an outline to be a solid leader, be able to manage up, which is a lot of challenge in a lot of companies as a really strong leader, and influence her team in a positive way. And that was very small. In my opinion, it's a very small thing. That's the minimal any leader should do to the team that they're either leaving behind or that they're training and teaching and that they're leading, is developing those people.
Absolutely.
Succession planning. Succession planning is a huge topic in companies anymore, because unfortunately we don't think of succession planning. Training people to be leaders within your companies. And that even goes training people to be leaders in your family.
Yes.
Training people to be leaders in your community. If you're a leader at a company, whether it's your own or not, you're responsible to help to change people's lives outside of your company. As a leader, you have a voice. Wouldn't you think? Would you agree to that, Dion?
I agree wholeheartedly. As much as there have been days, I'm just gonna be transparent. There have been days where I wanted to turn the leadership off, if you will. Okay, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No.
But when it's in your DNA, okay, you have no choice. When
That's
you're
right.
running, operating a business, you have no choice. People are coming to you for information. So regardless of whether you want to have your cap on and your yoga pants that day, something you just can't do it, right? But the thing about it, succession planning is what a leader does. A leader prepares other leaders. A leader equips other leaders. And that even comes to a point where when we're preparing people to take our positions, as you said, Lou, right? And people ask me all the time, well, what's next for you? What's the next level for you? Don't worry about me. I'm here for a season, right? And as long as I help create leaders while I'm in this space, in this season, and I leave this position better than what it was, or this department better than what it was when I arrived and my work here is done, it is time for me to pass the baton. But sometimes you will find leaders are hesitant to train others because they have this fear, right, that they may take my job. But if you are a true leader, right, if you are a true leader applying these 6 principles, your job is not to stay in that space. Leaders don't stay forever. Leaders do what they're called to do. They grow, they excel, they go to the next place, they pass the baton. That leader does the same thing. As Lou said, it's succession planning. So it's not just for those that are on our team to grow, it's to create the leader that replaces us so we can grow as well.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah. And it's so rewarding when you can do it.
It's the
so
best
rewarding.
feeling ever.
Yeah, it's just so rewarding. When I was an executive director for one of the companies I worked for, and one of the things that the COO of the company, when I departed after training my person that took over, he outlined something I didn't think about. He wrote them out. He goes, you have influenced and coached 15 people in this company that are now in leadership roles.
Awesome.
And man, what a good feeling that was.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. Absolutely love it. All right. Next one, evaluate every day. Through this is where, through your development, right? We develop ourselves. You have to evaluate the real impact and effectiveness that your influence has on other people. And then as you're open up your mind and you're able to then look at that and evaluate that effectiveness, then you can make adjustments where it's needed. And here's the importance. you can make it. You got to keep your ego aside. Big one, right?
What's that? What's an ego?
Ego. Leadership doesn't have ego.
Right.
Oh my gosh, do they have ego? Okay, man. So yeah, put that ego aside and just really develop and see what you do to make changes, and just be open to the change and make it happen.
Agree.
All right, next, the last one. Repeat the same things we just learned every day. Learn, experience, apply, develop, evaluate repeatedly every single day as a leader.
That's success.
Yeah, 100%.
That is leadership success in a nutshell. As you said, there are 21 principles over here and however many principles over here. This is a master class, a mini master class, if you will. If you do this, if you do this, I promise you, you will see some changes, you will see some results, and you'll feel better.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel better from a leadership standpoint, because as we stated, it's heavy. It is heavy to be a leader, right? You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. I've tried it. Others have tried it. Good luck. It's not going to happen. It's just who you are. So we have to embrace the principles, if you will, to help us become successful so that we fulfill the charge, which is simply to create other leaders.
100% agree that it starts with us.
Yes.
It starts with us. And if we don't know how to do some of this, that's when you use resources. And that's where Dion and I come in. This is where we come in to help you out with this. So that is the 6 things a leader should do every day. So thank you for that, Dion, and all your points on this, man. Just phenomenal stuff. So I'd like to I think we should open it up now for some questions.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be on this. It can be anything.
Yes.
We just wanted to give you some teaching too. So we'll open it up for some questions. You're welcome to unmute yourself or throw it in chat. Is there anyone that put any in the chat yet? Okay. So we'll give you guys a second. You're welcome to ask any questions or share anything you've learned that you enjoyed. And there are a couple that I had asked some people that some of our clients and our partners, and throughout the last few weeks, some of our events, I've asked them if anybody had any questions on topic of leadership and transition. So if nobody has questions, there are some that I'll throw out there that we can talk about. All right, so let's throw one out. If one of these create a question for you guys or a comment, feel free to throw it out and do that. So Sherry, I think you've got a list of those questions, so throw one out to us. Go ahead.
Do you see the chat or no?
Oh, it's in the chat? Okay, let me just take a look here.
During this season, what would you tell a business owner who is struggling?
Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing to make this easy. Okay. During this season, what would you tell a business owner who is struggling?
Yeah, my struggle's going on.
You want to start with that one, Dion?
So I don't know what the struggle is. What type of, can you give me a bit more detail? Is it the team? Is it the workload, work-life balance? What's the struggle? Clients?
Yeah, good question. And in this situation, trying to remember the exact situation.
Due to current events, maybe?
Oh, they're struggling during the current. That's what those during the current event. So because of COVID.
Okay.
That's right. Because of COVID, they're struggling to try to figure out ways to now come up with ideas on what they can do now to pivot as a business. And so right now they're struggling. And if there's anything that we would suggest during this season.
Gotcha. So as we said, from a leadership standpoint, and thank you for that clarity. From a leadership standpoint, when we are leading others, we're at the helm of the business. We have to think about all the things that we do, all of the resources that we provide from a business standpoint, right? And I'm sure there are things that we probably wanted to do up the road. So for example, in my case, I am a speaker. I cannot get on a stage right now. Zoom is my stage. WebEx is my stage. That's my new stage, right? So I had to scale my business to still offer the services that I provide, that my team provides, right? But doing in another method. So what I would say to you is to think about what services it is that you provide. How can you still reach clients and pivot your business with the model that you already have? Or is there something now that you need to bring into your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coaching was a part of what I did, but I didn't have as much time to coach because I was always somewhere speaking on a stage.
Yeah.
So now I have more time to speak because I'm not on a plane, I'm not on a stage. Again, my platform is now virtual. So I had to create something new, a whole program. I was coaching, but now there's a whole program in place. So I don't know exactly what type of business this is, but I would make a list of all the services you provide and figure out a way to reach people. There's no excuse because we can reach the masses now. We can reach people across the world now and not have to physically pack up, catch a flight. So we're saving time, money, resources, and can reach a different audience. Whatever your service is, it does not matter. Join a group, a networking group. Make sure you're networking and collaborating in this season, just like we're doing right here today, right? We have the Lou Everett Group and DG McGee Enterprises. Make sure that you are getting on podcasts. If you see a podcast that applies to whatever your service or your business is, reach out to the owner of the podcast and say, hey, do you mind if I come on your podcast? I want to share a little bit of information. I see Kristen here. I want to share a little bit of information about my attorney services. Whatever it is, put your information out to the entire universe. It can bring in clients that you never knew or even thought about. So we have to learn how to take what it is that we know, what it is that we do, and use technology. We have to embrace technology now to get our product or service out to the masses. I hope that helped.
That's right. Great. Thank you, Dion. You said it perfectly.
Thank you.
We actually got two questions that came into chat. So Alyssa was first. She said, I manage a team and I am also a part of our leadership team within our company. Sometimes I have to walk a fine line between helping others and also seeing the big picture. Any suggestions of how to learn to successfully sit on this line? I can certainly start there if you want. And then there's one more. So well, Alyssa, first of all, I feel it. I understand it 100%. Every leader does. And really, when it comes down to it, that's what leaders do. We're able to look at it. We have to look at it from different perspectives. But now here's the thing. You're not really sitting on a line. What you're doing is you're trying to be a successful leader. Because not only do you have to lead teams, you also have to do it to the benefit of your company in a way that influences both sides. Okay? And influencing your team with, okay, I know that, I understand their concerns, but I also see a bigger picture. I don't necessarily can relay that to them. But as a leader, what you need to relate to them is this: me as your leader, look what I'm doing, right? Follow me based on my example, and I'll promise you that it won't go unrecognized. It's okay to admit to your front line that, yeah, this is the reality of being a leader. There is a bigger picture, but that's okay. I'll take that burden from you, but I need you to trust me.
Right.
Right. And in order to trust me, as a leader, you set the example of influence. You've already been positively influenced. You've built those relationships up. They know, they trust you, that you're going to guide them, that you're going to be that beacon of light for upper leadership. When you can do that and influence on purpose, both sides, because influencing up is just as important as influencing to the left. Because you're influencing up as the upper leadership, right? So, and that means you're influencing in a way that sets the standard high because of your example. They see you, they see your team. Wow, even though everybody else's team is complaining and bickering about this change, your team, they have concerns, but man, they're performing. Why? Oh, well, it's because Alyssa has set the example. And they see Alyssa as a leader, not a manager, not a boss. Hope that helps a little bit. That's my take on that.
That's good.
Another question?
One last question. Well, at least the one I see in the chat. There's one more.
Sarah?
From Sarah. If you're struggling with dealing with someone who is in a leadership role, but have very poor leadership skills and resist growth, how do you best support them and remain in your personal leadership role? So make sure I get clarification just to make sure. So if you're working for a leader that's in a leadership role, and that particular leader has the poor leadership skills and resists growth, right? That we're talking about here. Okay. And so how does the person best support that leader, even though they have poor leadership skills and resist growth, to be able to do that and remain in your own personal leadership role? Very good question.
Yeah, that's a hard one right there. So my answer is quick and to the point. You send that leader to either Lou or I, okay?
Very true.
We're gonna get them some help, Sarah. Okay. So let me say this really quickly. There are 2 L's when it comes to being in business and in the workplace, and a lot of times people get the L's confused. Okay, there is longevity, and there is leadership. Sometimes people are in leadership roles because of the amount of time that they have been in the company. Okay, I don't even know you, Sarah. She's giving me the big nod. She's giving me a roaring nod right now. You don't even have to type roar in the chat box. I see you, okay? I see you through the Zoom, okay? So it happens. It happens more often than it should. People are placed in leadership roles because they've been in the company for 15 and 20 years. Leadership, let me be absolutely 100% clear, okay? The longevity is not leadership. I have seen engineers, 3rd-level engineers, become managers and directors because they were smart and they've been there for 10 or 15 years. And excuse my French, they suck at leadership because they're supposed to be behind a desk. Engineers, for the most part, are introverts. They sit to their desk and they want to get their action item done. So you now want an introvert to talk to people? That does not work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And then you have a team of people that go astray because they don't have a leader. They have the leader they have has the title of leader, but they are not a leader. They don't like people. They don't want to see people, okay? Let alone talk to people, all right? Yeah. So when it comes to that, my answer to you is this. A conversation needs to take place because we don't want your leadership skills to go awry because you're under the wrong leadership, okay? And people sometimes will take confrontation with a negative tone. When I say confrontation, that means confront the issue. That's an elephant in the break room. There's an elephant in the conference room, and we're not going to keep walking around this elephant like we don't see this elephant, okay? So that means there needs to be a conversation that has to take place. Delivery is everything. So when I say you have to deliver it right, Bob, I'm really trying to grow. I'm trying to excel in my career, but I'm really not feeling as if you are nurturing me to a place where I can grow and excel. Is there something that we can do from a leadership standpoint? And if Bob is not getting what you're saying, and you're not the only one that is feeling this way, Sarah, that we might have to use the whole chain of command. Then we go to Tom or to Jan and say, hey, I've had a conversation with Bob. I'm stagnant in my career. I cannot grow because of these reasons. And he may need to go to some leadership training. Because what will happen, everyone that is being led by this person, then we start talking retention. People will start disappearing. You will come to work next week and somebody else has resigned. Why? Right? But if no one is paying attention to this and it's not being addressed, then we have an issue with our bottom line, because now you're getting ready to spend another 70 to 100 grand on replacing that person, right? These people, because it's going to be more than one, right? So why not get this leader the training that he or she needs so that they can actually lead the organization? Or It may just be it's time for them to transition into a new role, and the person that really needs to step up to be the leader is already in the group, right? Because I've seen it 1,000 times where the leader is there because of longevity, but the real leader on the team leader, is the one that's doing the work. That's the one that's meeting the deadlines. The actual leader is looking good, but they haven't touched a spreadsheet or a key on their laptop. But that's a conversation for another day, and I'm gonna be quiet.
No, that's fantastic. What I will add, and we are at the top of the hour, but I have to say something because I think it's really important on this topic. Is this as the way that you would right away is understand that you have to learn how to lead up. And sometimes, because as a leader, leaders may not necessarily be in the position of a leader. So as a leader, we've got to set the example and lead up.
Yep.
Okay, set the example and lead up. Then when that time does come, like Deion's saying, that person's no longer there because they were ineffective. Guess who stands out? As a leader. And you develop yourself along the way. The team already respects you because you've proven yourself. That is what leadership is, because leadership is influence.
Yes.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Sherry's going to put in the chat as you finish up. Don't forget the bonuses you have for coming here. I'm telling you, this entire thing that we did. Just remember, this is what we calculated 30, 35, over almost 30, 37, almost $3,800 for the value of this. What we just did today, along with the bonuses. Yeah, what we would normally charge me and Deion as a team together. So take advantage of the opportunities that are in the chat right now to meet with myself and Sherry or myself and Deion. Take Deion's assessment and find out where you're heading and where you intend to be. Meet with Sherry and I to do the history of your future assessment, where we sit down and you plot out where you are now, where you intend to be. This is given to you. We don't usually give these things away. And so we want to give this to you as a gift to get you spearheaded in the direction you intend to be. Okay? I'm so excited. I'm glad you all are here. Deion, go ahead and close it up for us.
What I want to simply say is I hope that Lou and I and Sherry have provided some nuggets. I hope that we were able to ease, if you will, some of the pain points that you guys may be dealing with. And we know what leadership is like. As we said, it's a lonely walk, it's a strain, it's a struggle to run and own and operate our businesses. And sometimes we have people on our teams that don't get the big picture. They don't see the vision. And sometimes we're on teams where we need to grow and excel, and we've been put in this box because we don't have the right leadership. This is what it is that we do. This is who we are. So we offer you the opportunity in hopes that you got nuggets here today. I feel good. I had to bring the lion back in. I got a little crazy. I had to bring. I am passionate about this, guys, because I know the challenge of leadership, but it does not have to be challenging if we can all sit to the same table, have the conversations. But as leaders, if you're leading teams and your teams don't get it right, then you have to bring some other people in to help them maneuver along this path of leadership. And when I say leadership, it does not mean you have to be the manager, the director, or sitting in the C-suite. Individual contributors can be leaders because they are influencers. If I hire a person today on my team, they're going to watch the other people on the team and really see who's getting the job done, who's making an impact, who's making the influence, right? So with that being said, we're offering you all the opportunity to get some of these additional nuggets, take the assessment, look at what fits, get on our calendars. It does not matter whether you book with Lou or Sherry or you book with me. We are here to help because we understand. If you have someone that couldn't make it today and you feel like, hey, remember what you discussed with me about your team and your business, share this information with them, because business should not be difficult, especially in this season, because we all need to pivot from one shape, form, or fashion. We all need to grow. We all need to excel. There may be some things you guys haven't even thought about that you can do that Lou and Sherry and I can help you get to the next level, so you are in the black, not in the red. Make sure you capture the information Sherry has put in the chat. take the assessment, get on our calendars. Let's have a conversation. These conversations are complimentary. We are here to help because the season we're in, we have to work together. It's a must. And I'll close with that. I am DG McGee, and I thank the Lou Everett Group for having me. This has been phenomenal.
Great time. Thank you, Dion, for being here. It's been awesome. Thank you guys for taking the time out to allow us to be here at the table with us, and to hopefully you've got some nuggets you really enjoyed and you can learn and put into practice. If you ever need anything, reach out to us, okay? We are all here for you. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and just lead intentionally, okay?
That's it.
And save your chat. There's a lot of good info in there. All right? If you don't know how to do that, hit those 3 dots where you're supposed to chat and save it, and you're good to go. All right? Have an amazing weekend, and reach out to us if you need anything. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.